Radio at WHAM. WHAM.
Finally! Good morning, Hamilton, and welcome to Fireside. Alex here to bring you all the news from our fair town directly from the Hamilton Radio Tower, WHAM! Woo! We're back, baby! That only took me 10 minutes this time. Not too shabby. And I finally picked a name. I was going through some old recordings and I found a huge archive of FDR's old fireside chats and the name stuck. Welcome to Fireside, listeners. To be honest, I'm glad this recording is even going out this morning. Listeners, I was in the tower late last night doing some organizing when all of a sudden the power went out. Again! Thankfully, I have a good friend, Tam, who was on call at the power station and they were able to come help me out after their shift. Turns out a few wires within the wall were crossed and the extra power I needed for this equipment put too much strain on them. Those wires heated up and melted the plastic coating on the wires they were crossed with. The main power wires. So, we were working through the morning and were just able to get them rewired in time for the show. I've been awake for around, 36 hours now, so this show might get a little tiresome. Citizens, I apologize in advance for any weirdness that might happen, but know that it's all in the name of integrity and consistency. I'm doing this for you guys. Well, I'm also doing it for me, but that's neither here nor there. But that brings me to the news from this week. I know this is a little late, but Tim and I were working when the hospital made the announcement, so, anyway, we have twins. Well, we will soon. Early this morning, at around 5 local time, Mitchie Neven was rushed to the hospital to deliver her twins. 15 minutes earlier, Mitchie and her wife, Andrea, woke up to Mitchie's water breaking, the harbinger for the first set of twins ever to be born within Hamilton city limits. Can you believe it? In 30 years, Hamilton hasn't had one set of twins until this very moment. Well, Mitchie is still in labor, but today will be the day, hopefully, when we finally see twins born for the first time on Hamilton soil. It's amazing! The clinic is packed with spectators, all of them hoping to be the first ones to set eyes on the twins. I wonder what their names will be. Anyway, I have an update. Last week, we had a strange occurrence, as I'm sure you're all aware of at this point. With Colonel Pizza, Cinnatown, and the Blue Line all affected, we're all feeling the blow one way or another. Those poor piñas. So, the plane. Assistant Police Chief Polk and I got coffee this week, and she shared what information she could with me. So, now I'm sharing it with you listeners. In between some oddly placed arm grabs, the ACP informed me of the true identity of the plane. It turns out that the plane is a new addition to Hamilton indeed. Ms. Polk informed me that Unit Airline is a third-party airline, lending their planes to different companies and people for a variety of purposes. One branch of Unit Airline is dedicated to ride-sharing services, while another is used to help our independent farmers. The functionalities for the plane seem to vary as much as the personalities of the people living in Hamilton, which brings us to the main point. The Unit Airline plane that, unfortunately, crash-landed into the recreation center's pool seems to have been rented by a group of businesses. This long-term rental, which has since racked up an aggressively high fee, was originally intended to survey the land around Hamilton. The conglomerate, officially referred to as BINC, has kept its clientele fairly secret, but I have done some digging, and have found an inside source that's willing to reveal a number of the organizations interested in the land and area around Hamilton. This is so exciting. So, the first name on the list is Comcast.
He came down from Birmingham one December day. As she rolled into the station, you could hear all the people say, "There's a girl from Tennessee."
And Jethro Synth. Jethro Synth, can you believe it? That's another mention of the agricultural research firm in less than a fortnight. Last time you heard from me, listeners, I was on the fence. I was afraid of a new player in the agricultural game in Hamilton, but I've had a change of heart. As many of you know, both of my parents work for Fair Farms, Inc. Mom works in small-scale research, while Maman works hands on the crops, utilizing methods to specialize and perfect certain crops that are grown here in Hamilton. This past week, I spoke with them, and they are nothing but smiles when it comes to Jethro Synth. They love the work that the company has done with optimization, and their research is top-notch. They are extremely excited that Hamilton is getting a Jethro Synth lab, and they hope Fair Farms will work with them to help our town's agriculture flourish. Frankly, If the agricultural engineers and researchers are happy with the news of Jethro Sim talking about Hamilton, then so am I. Not to mention, they are my parents, but when it comes to specialized issues like this, speaking with someone within that field always seems to bring out points that I never even thought of. Now I'm excited to see what will come of this news, if any. I think two mentions of the same company so close to one another can only mean good things, but who knows? This isn't the first time we've had rumors surface of a new company thinking of Hamilton, and sometimes they work out and sometimes they don't. Only time will tell, listeners. Next, I have a special treat for you. The last few broadcasts have included a number of old ad recordings that I found in the back room. Well, apparently the show is gaining some traction, so this week we have a current ad. This one is brought to you from, well, I shouldn't spoil it, should I? I'm going to go see if I can find some news about the Neven twins, so sit back and enjoy. There's a lot of things to remember in life, like the names of your progeny. As our society ages, it gets harder and harder for the elderly to remember everything they need in order to get by. Heck, it can even be hard for the busy working person to remember everything that's going on. Do you find yourself among these individuals? Are you constantly forgetting and remembering at the wrong time? Well, do we have the solution for you? Limbico brings you the latest in memory retention technology with the new and improved Remembot 2000. This small, wearable piece of technology acts as a recording device, a playback implement, and a memory retention device all in one. The Remembot 2000 fits in the palm of your hand, and with a simple touch of a button, the different uses of the device can be accessed and utilized on the convenient, state-of-the-art touchscreen display. Each of the 3 levels of the Remembot 2000 can hold 60, 120, and 240 hours of recorded material for daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly use. Once a voice memo is recorded, the user is prompted for automatic or manual playback. Using the automatic setting will then prompt users with various options for playback intervals for use in every situation. Need to remember the grocery list from earlier that day? Use the manual setting. Need to be reminded that your significant other's birthday is coming up? Set an annual playback and never disappoint the ones you love. The Remembot 2000 sports a silent setting, as well as multiple volume levels for any situation. The device also helps maintain one's current memory, with various brain games which can be set for any age, skill level, or remembrance cofactor. Every level of the Remembot 2000 is available at your local electronics dealer, so don't forget to buy one. Let's see here. I have an update on the Neven kids. There has been no official word from Hamilton Clinic nor the Neven couple themselves, but an inside source that works within the hospital has reached out to me to bring you, my listeners, an inside scoop. Now, due to the nature of the situation, I don't want to compromise the identity of this source. Because of that, for the purposes of this update, I will refer to them as Mr. Anonymous. The update is as follows.
At around 11 o'clock local time, the neonatal ward was up in arms. Doctors, nurses, and other medical professionals were rushing around, trying to rev up their work so they could get close to the Neven room. Something was happening down there. I was on my lunch break, so I was able to surreptitiously make my way down to the ward with no one paying me any undue attention. Frankly, if I was wearing a clown costume and honking a horn while riding a unicycle, I don't think anyone would have noticed me. Everyone was focused on getting to the Nevens. Right as I reached their hospital room, I heard a baby crying. The first baby was born! There wasn't a name yet, but a surge of applause erupted from the onlooking clinic employees. One more baby to go!
Ah! The first baby is out! I bet Mitchie is feeling a lot of pressure with all these onlookers. I wonder why security would let that happen. They're probably watching too. Well, the first one is here, and the second one should be here shortly. That's all I have from my source within the hospital, but hopefully an official word will be out soon. Oh, here we go. Earlier this morning when Tam and I were taking a break from all the electrical wiring, we were, rewiring, I decided to use our downtime to get some catch-up work done for the morning show. I know, it sounds crazy, but there are negatives and positives to all-nighters, you know? On the one hand, you get more hours in the day by being awake at night, but on the other, the human body can only take so much before it cracks. On the other hand, you can keep drinking energy drinks or things with caffeine in them, and you just get extra hours in the day. But then on the other hand, your sleep cycle gets all out of whack, and sometimes you start hallucinating and seeing little floating specks in the studio, but then you just gotta close your eyes real tight for a little bit, and you're all fine! You can keep that productivity train going without having that pesky little thing called sleep get in the way of all your good ideas. Plus, when things like power outages happen and you can just do the work yourself, why bother waking someone else up? Who needs a consistent sleep cycle anyway? But I'm fine, and Tam is fine. Everything is fine! Plus, if I stopped, I probably would have passed out and missed the show entirely. Don't want that, do we? Anyway, I wanted to see if we got any calls into our newly established hotline, and sure enough, we had a call. Unfortunately, my sleep-deprived brain made me delete the message before I could save it. Fortunately, I set up the system where I hit a button on the phone to have a transcript of the message automatically printed out if I like it a lot, so I've got that to read for you. It's nice having a physical copy to reflect back on instead of listening to it sometimes. The message is as follows. Hi, Alex. You sound really cute on the radio. Well, shucks. Now I wish you would have left your name, listener. They continued. Anyway, I was wondering why I keep hearing paper rustling during your broadcasts. Nowadays, I probably couldn't come up with someone who takes their notes on paper when tablets and computers are always at the ready. Even a satellite phone might be more convenient. So my question is, why so much paper? Isn't that bad for the environment and less efficient? Good question, anonymous listener. Well, to be honest, I think...
Very serious.
Casey Freed with the buzz. Welcome back to the 5 o'clock radio hour. I'm your host with the most, Casey Freed with the buzz. Your favorite station for 30s, 40s, and today. We're bringing it all the way back to 1938 with this ditty. Back before we lost so many fresh faces, and before rumors were emerging from Big Red that they're heading up into the final frontier, a mere 60 miles above our very heads. That's right, folks. Earlier this morning, news stations across the world are reporting that the USSR is readying to launch its first ever satellite into space. Somewhere in the southern parts of the country, hundreds of commies prepare a man-made satellite that could have severe consequences. We await further news about the device, which some are calling Sputnik. But for now, let's put those thoughts aside and get lost in the Wabash Cannonball by Roy Acuff.
States are dandy, so the people always say. From New York,
Question anonymous.
Wabash, Cannonball.
Shredded and shipped off to recycling. So there's no need to worry, dear listener. All the paper gets recycled when it's done, of course. More importantly, I just like the feel. Radio seems like something old-timey, so it just feels right to have paper in my hands while I'm bringing you all the news from our town. Plus, I seem to be more organized when I'm using something physical, on like a computer or a tablet. Those things are always so distracting for me. So many things you can do. I don't think I'd be able to get a show done if I had my notes on there. Too much potential for mayhem. And Candy Crush. That being said, we're kind of at an impasse with tech for a little bit right now. Due to the nature of where we live, as I'm sure you all know, it's really hard to get tech out here on a consistent basis. We'll get shipments every month or so, but once that gets all used up, we have to wait for the next shipment. Unfortunately, this month there were a lot of new projects starting, which ate up the limited supply of new computers and tablets really quickly. So, when I went to the store to get a new computer for the station, there was nothing. All they had was a retrofitted modem from like 2004 and a bunch of charging cables. So, right now I'm working on one of my old computers that I was able to connect, tenuously, I might add, to the board in this recording studio. Honestly, I'm almost afraid to use it because I'm afraid that it might stop working. Maybe Tam can have a look at it. Hey, that's a good idea. Tam? Tam! Huh, they fell asleep. Sitting up. They were working on finishing up some wiring, and I went to the other room, and they were just leaning against the wall, pliers in hand, fast asleep. So cute. I wrapped them up in a blanket and just left them sleeping. I didn't want to wake them up. They've been so helpful these last million hours, and they deserve to sleep now. Well, I guess I'll have to ask them later about the computer. It'll be fine for now, I hope. While we're on the subject of things that aren't working as they should, we're experiencing more issues with our transit system, listeners. Do you remember the Transopolis-approved detours I listed as alternatives to the Blue Line last time? Well, now those lines are experiencing issues. Nothing as bad as last week, but the debris that struck the track seems to have caused a ripple effect of bad juju that's cascading all across our public transport system. The intensity of the outages has decreased, but the frequency has increased dramatically. The Indigo Line, the Cyan Line, and the Cerulean Line have gone out up to 6 times each just today! That's not to mention the still down Blue Line and the other outages that have happened earlier in the week. What happens each time varies between occurrences, but you can't get on a train anymore without something going wrong. Whether it be the lights going out on the Indigo Line, or the brakes going on suddenly on the Ultramarine Line, or one instance where an entire train car on the Sapphire Line separated from the engine. Be careful out there, folks! Engineers are on the case, but they can't pinpoint exactly where the issues are originating from. Make sure you plan ahead and remain calm when issues do arise. Don't be blue, and stay cool! Speaking of the repercussions of the plane flight, the rec center is still in shambles. My friend Nate and I were heading into Cardi Yoga last week, like we normally do, only to find the rec center still destroyed. To be fair, we weren't really thinking and completely forgot about the plane crash that early in the morning, but we definitely remembered when we ran into security on our way in. Thankfully, the recreation center was no longer smoking, but we could still see the wreckage of the plane protruding from the swimming pool. While I was there, I was able to speak with a few engineers who were going in to remove the plane and repair the rec center. One of the engineers told me they weren't sure how structurally sound the rec center was anymore. Every one of them said they were constantly on edge while working within the center, fearing what might happen if they bumped the wrong thing or shifted something else in the wrong way. Inspectors are heading in on this very day to decide if the building is salvageable. The main issue with the rec center, currently, is that when the plane pierced the building, it hit 2 weight-bearing structures before crashing through a conference room, a party room, the sauna, the smoothie bodega, and the steam room before making the plunge into the diving pool. Such damage to the building caused a lot of uncertainty, but the building remained standing despite the damage. Workers immediately shored up the damaged walls and beams, but those efforts can only last so long. Work on the rec center is currently on hold until... Hold on, listeners. My phone is ringing. Hello? Okay. Oh. Good news, everyone! In an unusual and timely event that I swear was not planned, I've just received word that the rec center is saved. Well, it's gonna take some time before it's back in proper order, but the building is okay! Generally. The inspector just called into the show and told me to tell you, the people of Hamilton, that the workers will be able to keep the ceiling up in our rec center. The plane has been removed, and officials say that the pool will be open sometime later this week. Unfortunately, Cardi Yoga is canceled indefinitely, but that's okay. Nate and I are thinking of going to a goat yoga class, so we'll see how that goes. Ah! The babies are here! Michi and Neven had the second baby, and everyone is healthy and okay! Ah! Hold on, let me back up. I received a call from Anonymous, my source within the hospital, shortly after the first call. The timestamp on the voicemail says 11:30, so very shortly after the first one. I can't figure out how to convert the message in my phone to the radio emitter without it sounding terrible, so I'm just going to relay the message to you orally, listeners. The message is as follows. At around 11:25, Michi Neven gave birth to her second child. Officially, for the first time, we have the names of the first twins born in Hamilton. Lim Neven, weighing 5 pounds 8 ounces, is biologically male, and Fatine Neven, weighing 6 pounds 0 ounces, is biologically female. And they're adorable. Michi is exhausted, but the family is all together, everyone is healthy, and everything is now calm. I've got to go, but I'll see you next week for Goat and that's where the message cut off. Sorry, listeners. Well, the good news is that everyone is happy and healthy, and I bet the babies are so cute. Well, maybe. Sometimes newborns look like aliens, which can be off-putting, but after a few weeks they'll look cute. Just you wait. For our final segment this week, we've got... I'm sorry, I thought I saw the door move. You know that weird suction thing that happens when two doors open onto the same room? Well, yeah, it looked like that happened somewhere in the tower, and...
Why is that elevator down there? It doesn't even work. Also, sorry I'm late, but the babies were just so engaging, I couldn't pull myself away from the clinic.
Listeners, I think I've lost it. My sleep deprivation must have reached a new level because I think I'm finally seeing fully fleshed out hallucinations. And they've started talking to me. It looks like there's a person standing in the studio with me. Well, listeners, I think this is my cue to go get some rest, so I will see you next time.
No, but I just got here. Hamilton, he and I are about to do a brainstorming sesh right now on air. I guess. We need to figure out what this show is going to be like with two people.
They.
What?
They. I prefer they-them pronouns. Listeners, I just got misgendered by a figment of my own imagination. Today really is a day of firsts.
Ooh, sorry. Won't happen again, but I'm not a figment of your imagination. The name's Angie, and I'm here to run the station with you, or so I'm told. I'm not really into it all that much, but this is what I was assigned, so I'm showing up.
Excuse me, you're what?
Oh, I guess sorry. I guess they were tired. How the hell do you turn this thing off? Why are there so many safety pins?
Fireside was written, directed, and produced by Dylan Becker and Gabby Halligan. The voice of Alex was played by James Hartley. The voice of Angie was played by Jillian Leff. The role of Casey Freeb was played by Randolph Rebrick.
Our artwork and graphic design was created by Anna Meyer.
Make sure to follow Fireside Radio at fireside_radio on Twitter, like our Facebook page, and be sure to leave a rating and review on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to email us at firesideradio@gmail.com. The team here at Fireside would also like to thank Emily for her love and support. It means a lot. And until next time, I'm Dan Barron, and this was Fireside.